So props to them for like taking the criticism, addressing it, and being like, hey, here's a scene that addresses that criticism. So thank you. Hi guys, Gidger64 here, and today I'm going to be talking about Star Trek Picard. I'm doing a review of episode 1 of season 2, and it's been a while since I've done a review. The last review I did was kind of a Christmas special about Muppets Christmas Carol, but before, it's been a long time. It's been like a year since I've really sat down and done a review. And honestly, the last TV show that I reviewed was Picard. Season 1, and I didn't like it. If you want a recap of Star Trek Picard Season 1 and how that went down, just go ahead and play Mass Effect. It's the same story.
Shepard!
No, don't touch him. It's too dangerous.
Some kind of vision.
A vision of what?
I saw synthetics, slaughtering people, butchering them.
We have to stop them. We will.
Sovereign will override the Citadel systems and manually open the relay, and the cycle of extinction will begin again.
Dr. Soong and I have designed a suitable beacon to summon them. We can have it transmitting before the Romulan fleet arrives.
Needless to say, I did not like Star Trek Picard Season 1, a massive letdown. I just want to preface, I am a huge Star Trek fan. I'm a big Star Trek fan. I've got ships right behind me. Star Trek is something that I've loved since I was a kid. And, you know, I really can't really put into words how much I really like what Star Trek is and the stories that it told and how much of an impact it had on me growing up. And the new Trek is not that. Now, there are some people who do like the new Star Trek stuff. I even have a friend who does like it, but admittedly, he's not a Star Trek fan. And that's really my concern outside of, you know, the new Trek stuff. It's just not Star Trek. It's dark and dystopian, and it's just not Star Trek. I think it is a poorly written to mediocre, like, dark sci-fi show. Like, I see why some people would like it, but, you know, as far as Star Trek fans, most of us don't like it because it's not very Star Trek. So, how was episode 1 of season 2? Well, we're going to get into that now. There are spoilers in this because I'm literally doing episode breakdowns in this review. So, hopefully you've seen it, or before you've checked this out if you're actually interested in it, or you might be just watching this because, you know, like I basically am for the most part. New Trek's just not Trek, and you don't really care about it, but you're mildly curious as to what's actually going on with it and see if there's some kind of improvement and see if that actually will entice you back to checking out Star Trek again. So again, spoilers ahead. The main thing to take away from this episode is that they really took a lot of time to kind of acknowledging passively and moving past the things that happened in season 1, as if, you know, the creative types really realized how bad of a misfire episode or season 1 was, because it was just not good. I mean, objectively, it was a poorly written show that like ripped off ideas from other sci-fi shows and wasn't very Star Trek. And they kind of addressed some of those things and just moved past them very quickly. So I was very happy for that, because I was like, good, just address them, move past them, and hopefully we won't address them anymore. Because just you messed up. See if you can do anything better here in season 2. I'm giving them another chance. I am like one of those fans that consistently goes back and gets slapped in the face. Remember that commercial where that guy just consistently slaps everybody in the face in the backyard?
Larry! Larry, you can't just... Oh,
Larry! Oh, are you alright? How did...
Larry!
I'm the guy who continually keeps going up and getting slapped in the face, but I'm giving Star Trek another chance because I just love it that much, and I really want it to be good. So the episode opens up, and they're on a ship, and it's under attack by something, and there's a self-destruct, and that's it. The ship blows up, or seemingly blows up, and then it's like 48 hours earlier. And I honestly hate this trope. I hate this in pretty much all TV shows and movies. I really don't like the setup where they say, hey, this is where we're at. Oh, let's see how we got there. I don't like that trope. Very rarely does that actually get pulled off in a proper way. To me, it's just a lazy way to kind of hook a viewer initially. That's how I always viewed it. So immediately I was like, oh man, here we go. But it does get a little bit better. It does get a little bit better. So you can obviously tell that whatever this is that's attacking the ship is something Borg related from the get-go. So kind of what it is, hey, the ship explodes and there's Borg involved, and 48 hours earlier, here we go. So let's go on a journey with the characters to discover how they got involved with the Borg in the 48-hour period. So that one Romulan woman from the first season is back, Laris. She has a Scottish accent. Why does a Romulan have a Scottish accent? I mentioned this before when I reviewed the first season, and I was like, why is there a Romulan with a Scottish accent? That makes no sense. Remember the Team 4-star with Jace when he was from Space Australia? That's what this kind of feels like to me.
We were having a right rips not here, and then this piker shows up, and just like that, it's good night, Irene.
We get it, you're from Space Australia!
So the other Romulan guy, I don't remember his name, but the other Romulan guy that was around with Picard, he apparently died in between season 1 and 2 as a way to kind of write him off the show, and that's fine. It's not like he really provided a whole lot. Between the two Romulan characters, the Scottish Romulan lady was a lot more memorable for sure, and I think they just kind of wrote him out to kind of set up this romance pretty early in the episode between Picard and the Scottish Romulan lady. They're like, okay, well, let's see what they do with this, and he decides he's not gonna kiss her and start this romance, and then that starts this whole conversation, which is consistent through the entire episode about Picard not wanting to be in relationships and what that is. So Picard having an aversion to relationships, that sparks off this conversation, and again, it's recurring. It's going to come up again. It kind of segues into him flashing back to a memory with his mother, and apparently alluding to the fact that Picard's father was an abusive father, which doesn't make any sense. That was never referenced or talked about before. That type of thing in the Star Trek universe is extremely rare. So the idea that Picard's father was some kind of abusive dad, I think is bad. I think the trope of some kind of abusive father is a TV trope for a reason. It's just the laziest way to try and enrich a character's backstory, and so I don't really like it if that's the direction that they're actually going with, and that tying into his aversion to relationships is because his dad was abusive. If that's actually where they're going to take it, I hate that. But we'll wait and see. So Elnor, who was the samurai Romulan from the first season, is back. All of the characters pretty much from the first season are back, at least the ones that lived are back. And he apparently joined Starfleet, and Picard is giving this speech. The speech that he gives is very on the nose, setting up what's going to happen in the show, because he very much talks about time, and hey, time is the final frontier, and making decisions and affecting time and the choices that you make and all this kind of stuff. It's very much setting up what's happening on the show. Like, this would be a bad speech even if you were a politician in the middle of nowhere could write better speeches than this. It's just not a very well drafted speech, and very on the nose. So Elnor, who is the samurai Romulan, there's a moment where they're like, please rise, and everybody clap because you're the first Romulan in Starfleet. And I don't think that's accurate. I know that there was a quarter Romulan. Yeah, there was a quarter Romulan that was literally on an episode of Star Trek, in which I think it was Drumhead, which is a really good Star Trek TNG episode. So there's at least a partial Romulan that's been in Starfleet. Although he wasn't in Starfleet Academy, if I remember correctly. I think he was enlisted, which enlisted and Starfleet don't get enough screen time. We need more screen time. Well, maybe not in current Trek because I don't really care, but back then I always wanted to see more enlisted in Starfleet. But everybody clapping because he's the first, Romulan in Starfleet doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, because Starfleet it consists of so many different alien races. Every single time there's a new alien race that joins Starfleet, do they all say, hey, you're the first And Dorian, you're the first so-and-so. Nog was the first Ferengi in Starfleet, and they didn't really make a big deal about that. So it just kind of is, I just thought it was strange. It's like, do you really do that every single time the first person of an alien race joins Starfleet? It's just kind of weird. So we kind of segue, and you have Seven, and she's now running the ship. And one of the holograms, the Rios holograms from the first season is back, which, you know, the Rios holograms was actually one of the brighter spots of the first season. I actually kind of like them. So I really wish there would be more of them than just the one that they decided to show. And she basically just fights off some pirates who are trying to steal some medical supplies that she's ferrying, and she's running the ship by herself and just with the hologram. And so we cut to the Beta Quadrant, and we got the android woman, Daj, from the first season, and she's, I guess, some kind of ambassador or something. I don't know. She's having food and talking with some alien race in the Beta Quadrant, and then you also got the most annoying new character, which is the drummer from Scott Pilgrim.
We are here to make money and sell out and stuff.
The scientist lady, and she's drinking, and one of these aliens comes up and talks to her, and you get this kind of throwaway line, because she murdered Bruce Maddox. She murdered Bruce Maddox in the first season, and in pretty much cold blood. I mean, it was premeditated. She made the decision and she killed a character, okay? So I thought that would be addressed. You know, why is she not in jail? And at least they do kind of address it in a throwaway line. Kind of goes back to what I said. They make references to the first season because you can't just ignore it, which is good. But their reasoning for why she's not in jail for murder is she says that she had alien-induced insanity. And so nothing happened from it. So, yeah, she murdered somebody and just got away with it, essentially, because of alien-induced insanity. And she's still serving on a vessel. So, yeah, okay. I really don't like that character. I think she's the worst new character out of all the new characters. So Rios, who is my favorite new character, there are some of these new characters that I'm like, hey, these have potential to be interesting. These could be interesting characters. Rios was pretty much the only new character in the first season where I was like, I actually like this character. So it was good seeing Rios back. He is now captain of Stargazer, which is the new Stargazer. Obviously, as soon as I saw this, I was like, hey, Stargazer, you know, that's Captain Picard's first command. That's kind of cool. It's good to know that the writers can pull up Wikipedia and get the most basic knowledge of Captain Picard and put it in the show, because I really suspect that the writers for New Trek, and especially in the first season, don't really know anything about Picard. They don't really understand the character. And they probably just maybe watched some of the movies and read a Wikipedia thing, and they're like, oh yeah, I understand who this character is. I'm hoping in the second season we get more redemption. And again, the first episode here is better than anything that I saw in the first season, so we'll see if it continues in that trajectory. It is weird that they have Rio smoking a cigar. I mean, that's consistent with his character that they established in the first season, but seeing any Starfleet member just smoking a cigar on the bridge is not very Star Trek. It doesn't really make any sense at all why he would be doing that. Every time they show him, just makes him look like Wolverine, in my opinion. So we get another conversation with Picard, and hey, you have an aversion to relationships. There's, like I said, there's several conversations about this in this one episode, and I'm going to get to that here at the end. But you know, he's having this conversation with Rafi, and Rafi mentions the relationship that she had with Seven of Nine, which makes no sense. If you watch the first season, it makes zero sense. It's literally just a throwaway thing where they're holding hands at the end of the final episode of season 1 to allude to the fact that they're in some kind of relationship. It doesn't really make sense because nowhere in that show, nowhere in the first season is that set up with those two characters. It literally just is thrown in as a thing at the end for no reason. Yes, they made Seven of Nine into, I guess she's bi, you know, now. She had a relationship with Chakotay, so it's I guess she's bi. And then Rafi, who has a husband and kids, if I remember correctly, who left her because she became a drug addict. This doesn't feel like Star Trek, guys. I guess she's bi also because she's like 7 now. So that whole relationship, they mention it, and I hope it doesn't get mentioned at all. Just throw that out the window, because it made 0 sense in the first season, and it really doesn't even correlate to these characters. Even the brand new character, it doesn't really make sense. So I just really hope they get rid of that whole thing. Guinan comes back. Whoopi Goldberg is back as Guinan. Her alien race she doesn't age, right? So they try and explain it, and then again, a throwaway line where she's just like, well, no, we can, our race can, our alien race can age up if we want to, and I wanted to, because I wanted to make the mortals feel more normal or something. It's really it's a really dumb line thrown in there to explain why Guinan looks older, but because she really should. But it doesn't make sense that they bring in Guinan, because this whole setup is basically to set up time travel, alternate reality type of stuff, and it's very on the nose that they're mentioning and setting up for that very early in this episode. And so it makes sense that she's around, because in Star Trek and into TNG episodes, she was always around, usually when there was a time travel or an alternate reality type of thing. Because of her alien species, she was able to detect and do that. And plus, she's always around. She usually give Picard some advice, which is the other thing they talk about. Again, they talk about the relationships and Picard's aversion to relationships again. Okay, I'm just going to say this. Picard had multiple relationships in Star Trek. There was Vosh, Lieutenant Darren, who was one of the science officers who was on the ship. Who else was there? There was the Femke Janssen, who played in one episode. There was a pretty strong relationship between the two of them in that one episode. I mean, Star Trek is a episodic, show, so usually you didn't have carry over to relationships. Vosh was in multiple episodes, and you also had he literally got married to a woman and lived an entire life and had kids and grandkids in one of the best episodes of Star Trek ever made. So he's had that relationship, like he's had relationships. And then obviously his biggest relationship was with, Crusher, who you figured would probably do something with that after the series and in the movies. They didn't really do a whole lot with it, but there was a lot of reasons as to why he didn't really want to be in a relationship with her, but they had strong feelings and whatever. Anyway, my point is that Picard had relationships with women, okay? He has some kind of aversion to relationships all of a sudden. It's not very consistent with the character that we know. Part of the reason why his relationships never work out is because he's a captain, okay? If you're in the military, you know this, but you don't have relations with your subordinates. If you are a captain in a ship somewhere, it very much limits the amount of people that you can have relationships with, because you're literally a captain of a starship. You can't, and all of the people under your command, you can't have relationships with. So, yeah, of course, he's going to have a hard time with relationships from that perspective. Anyway, the Starfleet ambassador goes to Picard and relays a message that came out of the rift that we saw earlier in the episode, that we all know is the Borg. And I don't know why they don't know it's the Borg, because whenever they decipher the message that comes through the thing, it's literally a bunch of overlapping languages. Obviously, that's the Borg. Like, you guys should know that. It's green. It's a rift in space. And it's a bunch of overlapping languages that say, "Help us, Picard," or something to that effect. Which is the reason why the Starfleet Admiral goes to Picard and is like, "Hey, Picard, I need you to go out into space to the Stargazer. And this is why, because we got this message and we need you to make contact with these aliens." Like, they don't have any idea that they're Borg? Really? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Anyway, Picard arrives at the Stargazer, and then some more ships arrive, which is really, I give them props to this, because they listened to my criticism, and it's not just my criticism. A lot of people made jokes about this, but in the first season, there was all those copy and paste Federation ships. Like, they literally were all the same ship, and they all just appeared, and there's hundreds, maybe like 1,000 of them. They just appear, and they're all the same model of ship. And there was lots of criticism about that. And they addressed it here, because when the other ships arrive, probably about 100 or so ships, they're all different classes of ship, which is good. That actually makes it feel like that's Starfleet and that's the Federation. And it's actually good just to see the actual Starfleet in a positive way, because they really have some kind of aversion to showing Starfleet in a positive light. So props to them for like taking the criticism, addressing it, and being like, hey, here's a scene that addresses that criticism. So thank you. And that's really all we want. Like, just listen to fan criticism and try and address it. Like, don't call us names or say you hate it and you're always gonna hate it. No, we want to like it. That's why I'm watching this again, even though I really didn't want to. I wanted to give it another chance. So I'm seeing where it's gonna take me. Anyway, the Borg ship comes out of the rift, and it just looks like, well, you all know what this looks like, right? Like, we all know what this looks like. It looks like the Pokemon Cloister, okay? Anyway, so they announce that they're the Borg and that they want to have some kind of discussion. So Picard and all the other characters go into the ready room, and they're having a conversation. And first off, Picard says he doesn't know what to do, which is nothing that Picard says, okay? No good leader ever says, I don't know what to do. Now, it doesn't mean you always know what to do, but you don't tell your subordinates, I don't know what to do. You don't say that. What you say is suggestions, options, which happens a lot in Star Trek TNG. That Picard, whenever he doesn't know what to do, or he wants advice, he just asks for advice from the. So that's how that should have played out, instead of him straight up saying, "I don't know what to do." And then he says, "Oh well, this could be a chance for peace, with the Borg." And Seven's like, "What are you talking about? They're the Borg. We need to destroy them, obviously." And the fact that Picard's like, "Hey, we need to make peace," makes zero sense in the context of First Contact and his interactions with the Borg. So it doesn't even make any sense that he would even say something like that. Anyway, the Borg Queen ends up getting on the ship, and the Borg Queen kind of looks like Ivan Ooze from the Power Rangers movie.
Woo! Where's my autograph book?
With Doc Ock tentacles, like Venom or something. I don't know. Doesn't look anything like the Borg Queen. That's fine if you want to redesign it, but it just really kind of looks weird. And just jacks into the ships and starts hacking the ship, and starts, shooting people on the bridge and all this stuff. And they make a point to say that, oh, well, she's just stunning them. So that's obviously going to come into play later. So it's just, and then you get into the what you saw in the beginning of the episode with the ship being destroyed. Then Picard wakes up and he's back at his winery, his chateau. And, he doesn't really know how he got there because, the ship just exploded. Things are weird and slightly off. And then Q shows up, which, he's de-aged, and their de-aging was pretty good. I mean, they did a good job of limiting that and keeping him far away from the screen to make it look as good as possible on a budget. And then he just wipes his hands, and then, he's older because it's easier to do it that way. So I totally understand why. And so Q's there, and, that's when hey, this is an alternate timeline. So we've got Star Trek alternate realities, Star Trek time travel, Star Trek the Borg, and Star Trek Q. So there's a lot of stuff Star Trek oriented in this. Let's see if they can pull it off. So you got a lot of classic Star Trek stuff that they're trying to pull from. I really wish that they would do something new, but at the same time, they've proven that their new ideas are not very good. So them adapting something older, they also have proven to be terrible at. So we'll see. I at the end of this episode, I was like, I actually kind of wanted to see the second episode, which I wasn't expecting. Right, I did go into this thing with super low expectations, but I had hope. I was like, maybe it'll be good. Will I say it's good? No. I think this was a middle-of-the-road episode, but this is still the best episode of New Trek that I've seen. So that is a good thing. Again, we might be headed in the right direction. I wanted to see the next episode. Then they give you a stinger, and they show you the stuff that's coming up in the show, and then I cared less. Because when they started showing you what was going to happen, you're like, I don't know about all that, but we'll see. I will say that I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I will take like mediocrity from Star Trek right now. And that's kind of how I felt about this first episode. It was mediocre, and if that's the best we can get out of Star Trek right now, I guess I'm going to take it. I may end up doing a review for episode 2, depending on what I have to say. The whole reason why I'm doing these reviews is because I'm a big Star Trek fan, and there was multiple reasons why I stopped doing reviews. I have to really care about what I am reviewing in order to review it, because I'm not going to fake, passion about something. I'm not going to fake knowledge or interest in something for the sake of making a video. I am a big Star Trek fan, and I want Star Trek to be good again. So that's why I'm doing these reviews. That's really what made me decide to, hey, I'm going to do this review. I'm going to sit down, do this review, and maybe review the whole show. I want it to be good. So we'll see what happens. Did you guys see the first episode of Picard, or did you just give up after the first season and you're like, I'm not even going to deal with it? Comment and let me know. Again, if you guys are new Trek fans and you made it this far in the video, thank you for hearing me out and listening to the criticisms that I have. If you are a new Trek fan, I encourage you to make a video and say, hey, I like new Trek and this is what I like about it, because it's all about sharing your opinions out there as Trek fans. There aren't very many Trek fans I know that like new Trek, so I would be interested in hearing, why it is you like it, because I don't really like it. And I spelled out some of that here. Check out my video essay where I talk more about the new Trek and why I don't really like it. So comment and let me know. Thank you guys for checking out this video. Thank you subscribers, because you guys are awesome. And if you like this video, please like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff, or don't. I'm not a beggar. I'm D-True64, and I'll always tell you the truth.